Do you know how to properly train your dog using a pet containment system? Let's find out. Hey folks, it's Adam with Outdoor Pet Solutions, and today we're going to talk about training. Training is the most important step along the way if you're using a pet containment system to keep your dog safely in your yard. Don't be confused in thinking that if you install a pet containment system and you turn the system on and place the collar on your dog, that they'll magically stay in the yard. That's not the case. It takes training, and more importantly, it takes the right training. A lot of folks kind of wing this process a little bit, and unfortunately it causes issues down the road. So to eliminate those, you need to follow a professional's way of training your dog. I know that most folks who have dogs are not professional dog trainers. So following a detailed guide step by step and understanding the behaviors that you need to be watching for along the way will ensure your successful containment, along with keeping your dog comfortable in the yard. Some folks will kind of take the Cliff Notes version of this process, and their dog will then become confused, possibly bolt out of the yard when they're not supposed to, or in some cases they become what we call porch sitters. This is where they just sit on the porch, they don't venture too far off into the yard because they're afraid to do so. And that's because they were not introduced to the fence system correctly, and they do not know how to interact with it. So I'm going to quickly go over the step-by-step process that I use. So the first step that you need to take when teaching your dog their new boundaries is to introduce them to the fence system and what to do when they hear the audible tone that comes from the collar as they approach the boundary. That audible tone is their warning tone, or it's a trigger. What that means is every time the dog hears that audible tone, they need to do something, and that's where you come in. You have to teach them what to do. A lot of professional dog trainers use clickers or remote trainers, and they all work the same way. That audible tone is used to signal your dog to do something. The first step in the process is titled Teaching to Retreat. So what you'll want to do is keep the correction side of the collar turned off. All you want them to do is hear an audible tone. You don't want them to experience any type of sensation. You'll introduce your dog through a series of exercises that's clearly laid out in your training packet. And as they hear the audible tone, you're going to start teaching them to retreat when they approach the boundary. The boundary is clearly marked with white training flags, and when the dog passes through those flags, the audible tone will begin to sound. It's at that point that you have to teach your dog to retreat out of that area, and once you do, you reward them with positive reinforcement. Now you can use treats or love, praise, just good boy or good girl, showing them that retreating from the flags is what you wanted. And by doing that over and over again, just like you would by teaching them to sit or any other type of behavior, the repetitiveness will begin to become ingrained in them to where when they hear the audible tone, they'll automatically retreat to you or away from the flags. Once you've accomplished that step, you'll need to move on to distraction training. Now, distraction training utilizes the sensation that's delivered from the collar, because even though the dog is trained that the audible tone means to stop or retreat from the boundary, if there's something outside the yard that's distracting them enough to where they're deviating from what they're hearing, the sensation that's delivered from the collar will get their attention and remind them they've reached their limit, and they'll retreat back. This technique is used in all sorts of different types of dog training. Whether it's tracking dogs, canine units, hunting dogs, the list goes on, they all use a similar process to signal a behavior. I need you to retrieve the downed bird. And when you find the bird, you bring it back, and you can signal them using various methods through different sensations. You can even get it down with some remote trainers where a single tap on the neck from the collar signals one behavior, 2 taps signals another, and so on. The training can get very exact, and you can control your dog and show them what it is you want in all types of different capacities. These pet containment systems are designed to be used the exact same way. You can't just let your dog figure it out on their own. They need you to show them how to interact. So let's talk about that sensation a little bit. There are different versions of what can be felt by your dog out on the market. Most of these systems, especially the ones that are produced overseas, they use what's called sharp stimulus. This is a very localized sensation that tends to be very painful. In the professional dog training world, that is not the type of sensation that we recommend using. A lot of times that's too intense for the dog. It sets in nervousness, fear, and anxiety with your dog. A lot of times they'll develop a negative association with the yard. And to prevent all that, you should be using what's called blunt stimulus. Blunt stimulus is what's used by the professional dog trainers across the US and the globe. Blunt stimulus tenses the muscles. It uses the same sensation that a chiropractor would use on your back if you went for a treatment. All it does is contract muscles. And it's simply just to get your dog's attention off of whatever might be distracting them outside their boundary. It's not designed to harm them, frighten them, or cause any unnecessary stress. An example of this can be seen through various episodes of The Dog Whisperer. We're all familiar with Cesar Millan. He's very famous as a professional dog trainer, and he's worked with all types of dogs. Now, there are episodes that you will watch where he is trying to teach a dog to ignore other distracting dogs. So for an example, he will be walking the dog he's working with down a sidewalk, and he'll have somebody else walk another dog across the street along the opposing sidewalk. And so the dog's behavior typically is to react to that dog across the street. They'll kind of lose their mind and bark and pull on the leash. Well, during that time, you'll watch Cesar Millan do his famous ch-ch noise and point at the dog. And then all of a sudden, the dog looks at him. And you're thinking, that little ch noise is all it took. Well, if you look closely, he'll be lifting his right leg behind his left leg, and he'll nudge the dog in the ribs with his heel. In years past, he got some flack from other dog trainers who were claiming he was kicking the dogs. And that's simply not the case. He was simply nudging the dogs in the ribs because that is a sensitive area on the dog that the dog is not expecting when their mind is focused on the dog across the street. So when he raises his heel and nudges the dogs in the ribs, the dogs kind of hunch and they look up. Oh, what do you need? That's what the collar will do when it delivers the sensation. I hear a lot of folks ask, well, will it keep my dog in the yard? He likes to chase rabbits. He likes to chase squirrels. So what I tell them is during the steps of the training, you're going to utilize those distractions that are outside the boundary, and you're going to utilize the sensation that's delivered by the collar. Through a very specific process, the dog will begin to understand that those distractions are to be left alone. A lot of times the dogs will learn to give whatever that distraction is grief all the way up to their stopping point, and they'll stop immediately. They will not go beyond that point because they've been trained not to, and the sensation from the collar will be delivered if needed. Most of the time, once your dog is fully trained, they'll never feel that sensation again unless the distraction is enticing enough. But typically, it's just going to be the audible tone that reminds them that they've reached their limit. So step 2 in the gentle approach training process is titled distractions and correction. This is where you're going to begin to utilize the sensation of the collar by taking advantage of distractions that might be outside your yard. This could be passerbys walking their dog. It could be maybe you have wildlife that patrols through your yard at different times of the day. You'll take advantage of those moments with your dog, on leash of course, and allow the system to reinforce the training that you taught them during lesson 1, which is to retreat. Once you go through that second step, your dog will reach a point where they're able to come off leash. And so that's the third step in the process, is off leash while being supervised. Now, this is where you can bring your dog out in the yard, take the leash off, and enjoy the property with him or her. Throw the ball, walk the perimeter, but anytime they happen to be outside during this step, you need to be with them. Keep an eye on them so that you can verbally reinforce the training if need be. Remind them, say things like careful, careful, they're getting too close, and they'll quickly start to put everything together while being off leash. Because some dogs, when they pop the leash off for the first time, they're like, great, freedom, let's run. And they might need a couple of reminders. So don't be surprised if your dog gets a correction during that step. It's just them understanding that the leash had nothing to do with the restriction in the first place. Because every time they've been corrected through the distraction training, you've had the leash on them. And so sometimes there's an association with the leash, but that's a very brief association and it's usually eliminated after that first session out while being off leash. But just keep an eye on them and remember to be in the yard. And when you're ready to go back inside, take your dog with you. And then the last step before you start taking flags down is off-leash unsupervised. Now that's a little misleading. It does not mean let your dog out in the yard and take off for vacation. Instead, you're supposed to let the dog out, but watch them through the window and give them the sense that they're being unsupervised. Because some dogs will associate their restriction with their trainer, and that's you. So if you're out in the yard with them all the time, this whole time they've been restricted, they're gonna understand that, hey, if mom and dad are in the yard, I need to stay put. But as soon as you're out of sight, your dog may venture over to the boundary and quickly remember where their limitations are. They'll hear the audible tone and typically retreat immediately. And now they're understanding that whether you are standing right next to them or not, they are to stay in the yard. And then the last step is to remove the flags. Removing the flags slowly is important. You don't want to go out one morning and take them all down at once, because if you do, they'll think that their fence is gone. So instead, go out and just take down every other flag and wait a few days, let the space in between get a little bigger, and then come out again, take down every other flag again. The space gets even greater. So they're slowly disappearing on your dog all the way around the yard until there's just one or two left in play. And it's simply the warning tone on the collar that the dog is listening for to remember where their boundaries are, and life pretty much goes back to normal. Now, obviously I ran through that pretty quickly, and there are some detailed step-by-step approaches on how to teach your dog to retreat and how to respect the distractions that are outside the yard. It goes into a lot more detail in the Gentle Approach training program that comes complete with your OPS 1000 dog fence system. It will walk you through step by step how to complete this process professionally to ensure successful containment. Once you go through all that effort to train your dog to stay in your yard, you want to follow some rules so you don't unravel the training down the road. And these are very, very important. This is where folks typically drop the ball after they've installed the system properly, they've trained their dog, everything's going well, and it's down the road, all of a sudden the dog is starting to push the boundaries and get out of the yard. You may have heard of these stories. Well, that is typically resulting from something that we did to deviate from the initial training we taught in the first place. And what I mean by that is you want to follow some rules of things that you should never do and things that you should always do so that training stays effective indefinitely. So the first rule you need to follow is always keep the collar on the dog if they're out in the yard. It sounds like common sense, but a lot of times my customers 6 months to a year in, they become very confident in the setup and they start to think, oh, my dog's trained, with or without the collar, they're good to go. And so they don't put the collar on every single time the dog goes out. Oh, I'm just gonna let him out for 10 minutes here or there. Life kind of goes on and the collar gets forgotten about being placed on the dog. Well, what happens is it's not that your dog will figure out one day that they can just leave and they bolt out of the yard and they're running away. That's not the case. Typically, it takes some time. So if you let enough time go by without your dog wearing the collar, they'll be nosing around in the yard and they'll go beyond their stopping point and there's nothing there to remind them to stop. They're not hearing the audible tone, they don't get the sensation, nothing. And they look up and they're 50 feet beyond the line, 30 feet beyond the line. And now they're like, oh, cool, I'm running, let's go explore. Then you're gonna have your work cut out for you to train your dog to stay in the yard. So you have to reapply the collar, go back through the training process a little bit so they understand that that system's here to stay. But if you don't get into that habit of not putting the collar on the dog, you should never end up in that situation. Rule number 2, never try to get your dog to cross the boundary again. Why on earth would you ever want to do that in the first place? You've taken all that time to train them to not go past the boundary, but now you want to take them across the boundary. This is usually because you want to take them on a walk. So if you live in a typical neighborhood with sidewalks and you like to take your dog for a walk, you're not going to be able to simply just walk them across the line on their own 4 paws. Taking the collar off and trying to drag them out on a leash, they're going to put up a fight. They're going to become very stressed and confused. Dogs are very black and white. There's no real gray area. They don't understand that, oh, now it's okay to leave the yard, and then later on in the day when you want them to stay put, they have to stay put. you're deviating from their black and white training, and eventually they're going to start breaking out of the fence because you've been dragging them through to go for your walks. Because you drag them through enough times, nothing's happening because they don't have the collar on, and eventually they're going to learn that it's okay to go down the driveway out of the yard. So how do you get your dog out of the yard when you have an invisible fence in place? Well, you have a couple of different approaches. If you have a little dog, it's easy. Just take the fence collar off, simply pick your dog up and carry them out of the yard across the boundary, set them down, go for your walk. You come back, pick them back up, carry them back in the yard, reapply the collar, and everything will be good. You are the safe way in and out of the yard, and they will understand that. So when you say, hey, let's go for a walk, they run to you as opposed to the edge of the yard, which is what you don't want. But if you have a larger dog, you may not want to be carrying your large dog across the boundary. You put them in a vehicle or an ATV or a gator, some type of vehicle to where you can drive them out of the yard. So what a lot of folks will do is they'll install these fence systems a couple of joints down the driveway away from the sidewalk, and so that they can back their car past the stopping point with the collar off, of course. Their dog hops out of the car, go for your walk. They hop back in, you drive them back across the line, they hop out, they're good to go. What you're doing is you're disconnecting the concept that they're leaving the yard, so that when you say, hey, let's go for a walk, they'll run to the car as opposed to, again, running to the edge of the boundary, which is what you don't want. Now, this sounds like it's cumbersome and a big pain in the rear end and it's going to look silly to your neighbors, but I assure you it's the best way to handle a large dog leaving the yard when you want them to and eliminating any confusion down the road. So I hope this overview of the training process and a couple of rules to follow after the fact will help you in successfully containing your dog on your property. Again, if you're looking for the best pet containment system money can buy, be sure to check out the OPS 1000. It's a commercial grade system complete with battery backup, rechargeable collars, and heavy duty underground cable that's designed to last a lifetime. But best of all, it comes complete with my Gentle Approach training program that will walk you through the correct way on how to train your dog to the underground fence system, as well as how to install it like a professional. And right now, it's on sale with free shipping. So click the link in the description to get yours today. And as always, thanks for watching. Goodbye.